Hello, my lovelies. This episode is brought to you by Airbnb, of course. And if you are in need of New Year rejuvenation, remember to check out Guest Favorites, a collection of the most loved homes on Airbnb to find your next winter retreat. Now, let's start the show.
I grew up with straight monsters, man. I grew up with people that was just
not monsters,
trying to outdo each other in cruelty. The coolest thing about being humans is if you have 10 giraffes, you have 10 giraffes. You have 10 zebras, you have 10 zebras. 10 dogs, you have 10 dogs. If you have 10 humans, it's not 10 humans. Some human beings are just built different, bro.
You literally sound like an air sign saying that.
You sound like an air sign saying that. I'm a Libra.
You do. Air signs say like that. Are you an air sign?
I'm a Libra. I don't know what.
Hello, Sharon.
Hello.
I really love this because I usually don't get to be here with you.
You look so pretty.
Thank you. You always look beautiful.
Thank you so much. I be trying,
So I'm excited to talk to Da'Vinchi. Are you familiar with him?
I am not. The name sounds familiar. Give me a little backstory.
So Da'Vinchi is an actor. I actually met him with Trevor years ago when he was on. He's done a lot of different shows like Grownish, All American. He's also done a lot of talking recently just about mental health for young black men. He's our age. And so
awesome.
I'm excited to talk to him about that, but also get to know him a little bit more because he's continued to rise as a talent. Okay. And it's been a long time since I've spoken to him. So it's going to be a lot of fun to just see what he's learned and how he's grown in this industry since then.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. But speaking of mental health and getting into this topic, I think it's changed so much. I mean, obviously, I didn't grow up in your time.
Yeah.
But just when I hear you talk about things when it comes to mental health, it seems as if there was a different dialogue surrounding it in your generation than it is now.
Absolutely.
How could you describe how it was for you guys back then when it came to the concept of mental health?
Well, I just think, first of all, I'm very happy and excited that your generation is like, not afraid to use words like triggered. Cause like I didn't
always bring that one up.
I didn't even know what the hell that even meant. Triggered. My mother used to say, "You getting on my nerves. Go outside and play." You know what I mean? And I think that I think culturally it has a lot to do with it too. Because I know just like in the black community where I was raised and outside of Chicago, it was embarrassing to admit that you had postpartum depression. Like, what the hell is that? Get up and take care of your kids. You know what I mean?
Damn, y'all was tough as hell.
Yeah, it was like, what do you mean she can't get out the bed to take care of her kids? She's lazy. What's going on here?
Oh my gosh.
So, and then also to say you're crazy. Well, that's her crazy cousin. You know what I mean? So it was very much a stigma with saying you were depressed or you weren't feeling your best. But I actually had a couple of cousins who would check themselves into the hospital for rest.
Really?
Yeah, now that I think about it now, like back then we would just go, well, so-and-so's in the hospital for exhaustion. They just...
I don't mean to laugh at that, but it's the way you're saying it.
And we would talk about like, what? You could just check yourself in the hospital? Because you're tired, well, it's the psych ward, but yeah, they'll evaluate you for a few days, and they just said they needed a break from their kids, and they needed a break. So that was kind of like the first time, and I was a young woman in my early 20s, and that was the first time I had heard you could check yourself in the hospital for rest.
Yeah.
But I thought it was absolutely crazy.
How did you...
And no pun intended, but I just thought like, how did you... I just thought like, all of us are tired. You know what I mean? We all have kids. We all have to work.
But let's be honest, it's tough. You know what I mean? And I think it's really cool what you're bringing up because I think the concept of mental health, it's as if somebody is broken or, someone is stronger than the others. But really, some of us just have coping mechanisms that the world deems as okay or normal.
Absolutely.
What I mean by that is when you're nervous or when you're anxious, you start telling jokes. That's me.
Yeah.
I become performative. When I'm nervous or when I'm anxious or when I'm going through a stressful time, the way that I dealt with it, it created an entire career for me. or being a workaholic. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a socially acceptable one.
Absolutely.
So I think the thing is like, it's not so much that some people deal with it better. I mean, yes, some people do have the tools, but if we're thinking about in this era where people didn't have the tools per se, especially inner city or impoverished communities.
Right.
Some people just had coping mechanisms that were socially acceptable.
Absolutely.
A man, maybe he has a lot of sex. Maybe he's a sex addict.
Absolutely.
That's something that, it's socially acceptable. Actually, it's a problem.
Or a workaholic or whatever.
Exactly.
Like now with me, I've just become more defensive. Like, what do you mean? What are you trying to say? Or what? Those sounds like fighting words. What's going on here? So no, and you're right. And I guess like also with my generation is so and so is crazy, and you think they'll never be better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the whole concept of you can go and get help and actually be better. That's new to me.
Yeah, you can actually feel better. Yeah,
Right.
I think that's a big thing because sometimes you don't know that you're not feeling good. I remember something big. It was a big phrase with grandma, and it was a bit of a big phrase with
Right.
you is, you're making my nerves bad.
Yeah, you're on my nerves. Getting on my nerves.
Getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
My nerves is bad. And obviously we know that now it's most likely it was just anxiety.
Being triggered.
You know what I mean? I'm anxious. I'm feeling a little bit uneasy.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times people go through their whole life feeling that way and
Absolutely.
not knowing that there's another way that they could feel.
Right now, like with my mother had been molested as a child. And so everything around our growing up was about molestation. Mm-hmm. It was about watch this person, watch that person. Don't go alone with this person. When you're walking on the street, don't walk too close to doorways. Blah, blah. It was always, so everything was about you could be potentially attacked.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that brought anxiety. Mm-hmm. And guess what? I told you the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like generational anxiety,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when it comes to your kids, how did that affect your mental health? Like if you think about who you were before then,
right.
and when you started being on the receiving end of your own love that you were pouring into us,
right.
how do you think that changed you, your state of mind?
My kids changed me for the better. I was not the woman that, I'm going to get married and, have a picket fence and all these kids. I was the woman like, I'm not having any kids. I came from a family of 7. I was the baby. So it was like, I'm not having any damn kids. And then when I met your father in college and we, started dating and he wanted kids and I was like, okay, I guess I can have 1 or 2 kids or whatever like that. But what my kids showed me is that how loyal I am, what a loyal person I am. And so once I started having you, I became loyal to being a mother. I became loyal to that role. And what my kids...
You ate that one thing. You ate that raw.
And what my kids taught me was to love unconditionally. No matter what's going on. There were times when we didn't have any money and we had to go to the payday loan place and your dad would give the title to his... He would give the title to his car. We would go to Blockbuster. We would go to Blockbuster and get movies and Little Caesar pizza. And we would sit in the living room and you guys would be so happy.
They're thrilled.
So,
thrilled.
Yeah, so that's what my kids taught me, that you can have fun and you could raise your children in a way that money wasn't important. That loving each other is more important. And if you got 2 cents, use those 2 cents to bring whatever peace and happiness to your children. And so that's what you guys taught me, that you don't need a lot of money.
I love what you're saying.
You don't need a lot of money for your kids to have fun. You just need a plan. You need a plan. So we had a plan. We would so often we would take the title to the car. We would get like maybe $250, $300, and we would go to Blockbuster. Sometimes we would take you guys to the movies.
Yeah, we loved it. That was a big part of our lives for us.
Yeah, even now, Lawrence, my son, he would say, "Mom, let's go to the movies."
Yes.
And so he and I'll go on a date to the movies. And
I love it.
And I knew that was because as a kid, we taught you all that you can escape.
Yes.
In movies.
Yes, y'all did. That we could like, but I want to pull even further into what you're saying, which I think is important when we're talking about mental health, is we maybe didn't have therapists and maybe didn't have the words.
Right.
But I think one of our greatest sources of combating what you guys were dealing with, being in poverty, having to work over, crazy hours of the day, being away from your kids, trying to pay for the school, was community. I think community is a big thing that also, when we're talking about the internet, a lot of times that is impacted, and that also affects our mental health, is being able to have those people to sit on the Leto couch and watch a blockbuster movie with.
Right.
I think that also helps with what you're dealing with in life, is being able to have somebody to lean on and call on, having your family. Like, they ask me a lot of times, what is it that helps you get through? What is it that helps you to stay grounded? It's my family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's important that we do have these tools, right? Like, going to, saying a prayer, meditation, yoga, therapy, etc. But let's get down into it and really say, you got to create a community.
You have to
create a community, because we can't do it alone.
No.
And I'm not saying if you're not a churchy person, you ain't got to go to church if that's not your religion, whatever. But the point and the concept of it is to commune with people.
Absolutely.
So that you don't feel alone. I started therapy. I remember when I first told you guys that I wanted to do therapy when I was 17. And then I've been in therapy since I was 17 till now, and I'm 30. But obviously, when I started my journey of therapy, I also tried to pull the whole family into therapy with me. So I want to hear about what your initial thoughts were then, and then what has your experience been with therapy since then?
Right. I don't know if I can remember my initial thoughts. I just knew you were in, anguish, and you wanted therapy. So
anguish is a great word.
Yeah. So I just support that. My mother listened to me. She would always say, finish what you have to say whatever you want to say, because, I want to hear it. It may not change my opinion, but I want to hear what you have to say. So I did, I raised my kids the same way. Say what you have to say, and, we'll go from there. And so I just know I remember supporting you, trying to support you. Mm-hmm. Even though maybe I didn't understand it, but I tried to support you. And for me, I started going into therapy when your father was going through the diaconate program. So we actually had to do a lot of one-on-one therapy. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like a 4-year course of, retreats and couples therapy. Then later on, I started having like one-on-one therapy with a nun. Her name was Sister Mary Kay. And I used to call Sister Mary Kay, and we would talk for maybe...
I remember her from church.
And she just, to me, was a very kind person. It's funny because Sister Mary Kay read your first book, and she told me to tell you to protect yourself. And I said, what do you mean by that? She says, because she has such empathy. And when people have so much empathy, people try to take advantage of that. And she told me...
Such an eerie thing for Sister Mary to say.
I just took it as she read your book, and she saw how kind you are, and she, whatever premonition or whatever, I'm not going to put words in her mouth. She just wanted me to tell you to protect yourself. It's okay to be kind and empathetic, but everybody don't deserve that kind of attention from you. When I used to talk to Sister Mary Kay, I still talk to her, but, not as much. But one of the techniques, and I know now there was a technique. At the time, I didn't know it was a technique, but she would go, okay, so let me get this straight, Sharon. This is what you're telling me. And then she would repeat back to me what it was I was telling her.
That's important.
And then for me to hear it coming from her, I was like, man, that is what I said. That's something is wrong with that.
Right, though, but that's important.
So that was a technique that she was using, and I didn't even think of it as a technique. But then I saw it in a movie, and I was like, Sister Mary Kay used to say that to me.
She's good at what she does. She's been a sister for so long.
Yeah.
I remember I used to tell her, but if God is up there, why can't I get to him?
What did she say?
She just, Keke. Okay, I'm going to get into it with Davinchi. Thanks, Mom.
Well, shout outs to Sister Mary Kay.
Yes. Okay, y'all. I'm here to spill the tea on how to level up your 2025 travel game. Listen, as we step into the fresh new year, it's time to shake things up and try something different. You know what they say, new year, new adventures. And let me tell you, some trips are better in an Airbnb. As you guys know, I was recently tucked away in a fabulous lakeside cabin only a couple of hours away from the glitz and glam of Los Angeles. It had the works. We're talking game room, panoramic views of the mountains, a fully stocked kitchen that Tabitha Brown would be proud of, okay? And my fave, a jacuzzi on the balcony. Yes, yes. Now, you best believe me and the fam had the epitome of cozy, posted up, sipping on hot chocolate by the fire without a care in the world. And because we found this stunning house on Airbnb, we were super close to Big Bear proper and got all the tea from our host about the best spots in town. Child, we was hitting the slopes, popping downtown for shopping in the village or for dinner at Sweet Basil Bistro. Yes, get into it. We were right in the thick of things, and our host knew what they were talking about. Now, if you're feeling inspired and decided to hop on over to Airbnb to book yourself a little something, let me put you onto the truth. Guest favorites. Okay, these are the cream of the crop stays that other travelers are raving about. We're talking places with charm, character, and that special je ne sais quoi that'll make your 2025 unforgettable. That's how I found this gem. So go ahead, book that stay, and make 2025 your year of exploration. Trust me, you won't regret it. Baby, this is Keke. Today's guest is someone who has really skyrocketed into the public eye over the last few years thanks to his role on the hit sitcom Grownish and more recently his role as Southwest T on Black Mafia Family. Not only is he an amazing actor, but he's also outspoken about a cause that's important to me as well, mental health. Welcome to the show, my old friend Da'Vinchi.
I appreciate you having me, Keke.
Now, guys, I'm so excited to have Da'Vinchi on the show because I've actually known him for a really long time. We haven't seen each other in a minute, but I met him right at the beginning of him jumping on Grownish. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
with
remember
Trevor?
That. Yeah, right.
When's the
Shout
last
out
time you
Trevor.
seen T?
Honestly, it's been a minute too. It's been a minute too, actually. But we still, you know what I'm saying, hit each other on the gram and shit
Yeah.
like that.
But I mean,
yeah,
you be working a lot, man. You always got a gig. I mean, All American.
Yeah.
I watched you on there. You killed it on there. I love that show.
Appreciate it.
And then recently, I know you just finished the fourth season of BMF?
Yep, fourth season.
So how are you feeling? How's that been going? I mean, the success has just continued to be successing. Like, what are the vibes? How are you feeling as of late?
I mean, it's a blessing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really grateful that I'm able to be 4 years in on the show. You know, I started this business like 6-7 years ago, and given how it usually goes for most people, I'm like, damn, I'm ready to need on the A stack. So someone above is looking out for me. It's been great. It definitely has its pros and cons. You know what I'm saying? It's not all great and beautiful, but
Yeah.
overall, I wouldn't trade this for the world.
I know that's right. And it's so true what you said with this, because 6 years is a short amount of time to have the success that you've had. And I know it's going to continue, but how has it been adjusting to that? You know what I'm saying? Like what kind of has been the journey of just like seeing how your life has changed, not only for you and your workload, but also how you're interacting with people? Because people also, are impacted by your success.
Fact. I think fame is an interesting thing, and it has a strange effect on a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're becoming, famous or like a celebrity, as they call it. And I kind of hate that term celebrity because I don't feel like I'm a celebrity. I just feel like I'm a regular person, just
Performer,
for notoriety. But it's like you start realizing that you've entered this spotlight because of how people around you start treating you, how your family start treating you, how everyone start looking at you. And you really can't move the same anymore, like at all. I've dealt with stalkers. I dealt with,
Wait a
people
minute.
just having sick fantasies in their head. You know what I'm saying? And they're persistent as hell. Or like when you're running, like now, boy, when I'm outside,
Now,
thank
wait a
God-
minute. Tell me about this stalker because I feel there's a story here.
I don't even want to give this crazy person light on your show because I don't even know who it is, but I just feel like, if I feed the beast right now, talk about it, that motherfucker probably watch this interview and they just be like, "Oh, I'm back." But no, I think she learned the lesson because we know exactly who she is, and the feds will be on her ass if she's trying that again. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it was annoying, bro. It was like almost a year of just straight non-stop messaging this sick person, and a whole family got involved, like their whole family. And it's just like, it's just crazy to think like grown ass mothers and daughters will all be in on a sick, thing. And it's
Dang.
just, yeah, it's wild. I don't even want to get
I
it
mean,
too
I
much.
always feel like it's so unique with guys, like especially when it comes to the whole heartthrob gag. I mean, obviously we have women that are sex symbols, heartthrobs, everything like that. But with guys, it does seem different. Like I remember even thinking about like just B2K when we was kids and they videos, and it's like the girls are screaming and jumping, and you know what I mean. So this whole
Right.
heartthrob energy, I'm sure it does have, comes with the strong suits, but clearly, as you just mentioned, it comes with some of its some of its negatives too. And
Yeah.
when the girls is
I
after
tell
you.
I tell my friends that all the time. I'm like, bro, it's different from girls and guys. Like I feel like if you take like a Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez, and they both huge and do really well in their fields, but it's like I think Justin Bieber probably got a little more crazy psycho fans than Selena. I don't know, like it's just I think a girl just feel like she could get away with more, and it
Yeah.
takes like if my big ass is going to a police officer and report something. 6'3", 200 pounds, like, yo, this girl is, da, 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 da. They go, man, it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of just like, but then if something wild happened and you get in trouble, you damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it takes a
Yes.
while for people to take it serious more so, when you take it the proper protocol.
Oh man, okay, so we got crazy new workload, quick success, but obviously well deserved. We got some crazy stalker fans, and then we have you really coming forward and speaking on, I think, an issue that is so important, especially for people that look like you know what I mean, a young, handsome black man saying, "Hey, I want to talk about mental health. I want to advocate for that being something necessary for us to all start kind of like putting our attention towards." What made
Right.
you want to start being vocal about that?
I think when you really dissect the communities that we come from and you really just break down why we're struggling so much. I mean, of course, because of, slavery being a huge factor. I mean, there was an entire system put in place, right, to keep us oppressed. They had certain laws and rules around that time frame to where everything was coming together to create this narrative that basically black people are biologically inferior to white people, and we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do that. So I think when you look at our history in this country, especially, you can't talk about them without realizing the traumatic stress that we went through, right? People don't really take into consideration when you have a group of people publishing articles and you having neurosurgeons and doctors and psychologists saying certain things that repeated by social Darwinism, like, yo, black people are biologically inferior to white people. Black people can't do this. We're more prone
Yeah,
to this.
propaganda to justify
Right.
slavery, a business.
Exactly. And then also the one rule that they had, or one of many, like black people, you can't build wealth, you can't have a mortgage, you can't pass it down. So those things were literally created to keep us in this stress, traumatic
State of
environment, right?
survival. Yeah.
Exactly. And then now that, we're free, so to speak, it's like we don't really know what to do with that because we got so much trauma still, you know what I'm saying? And the thing
Yeah.
about problems is like a problem could happen for a day or a week or 4 years, but then the trauma from that thing lasts generations and generations and generations. So I think because we're still dealing with the trauma of that and how, the media portrays a lot of us and the lack of access to education and information that we have, I realize I'm like, yo, we are like kind of fucked. And a lot of people are, the mental health crisis in this country it's not just a matter of black people anymore. It's everyone that's getting it. A lot of
Yeah.
Asian kids are suffering from it and everyone. But, looking at those statistics and looking at my community specifically and coming from where I come from, I was fortunate enough to see two different dimensions in this world. And not many people get this opportunity to just come from straight poverty. And then you make it out and you see the other side. And as you're trying to enjoy the fruits of your labor here, you're kind of looking back like, damn, like we are fucked. And you realize that, you could give a man a fish, he eats for the day, but if you teach a man a fish, they eat forever. So it's just like you could give back all you want, but it's just like,
Yeah. But you got to figure out the system in which they can actually get it from the root.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's when you start understanding the mechanisms in the mind and what mental health is. You know what I'm saying? And when you start breaking that down, it's just your ability to how your social and emotional well-being is. And a lot of us don't think about that. So I just started understanding psychology, how it works, understanding the basic mechanism of the brain.
So much of what you said was also important in terms of like it's hard to even stop and think about stuff like this or in this way when you're in a constant state of survival. And I do
Absolutely.
think it's important as an entertainer, somebody like you said, a celebrity, whatever people want to look at us as, if somebody does not have the resources to that education or to that information, well, hell, if they're watching BMF or they may be checking into the Baby This is Keke Palmer podcast, then maybe we can at least share the information, from the resources that we've been able to have to at least shine a light on something that may click or that may resonate in that way. And then, I love also what you were saying about Harriet Tubman said something, I might butcher the quote, but somebody was like, oh, how many slaves you freed, or it's amazing how many slaves you freed. And she said, well, I could have freed thousands more if they knew they were slaves.
Right.
And it's like, Kanye said the unpopular version. But ultimately it's the idea that, you can't know what you don't know. And if you've never truly known mental freedom, if you never really knew what it felt like to actually just like know that you have a choice, once you have all these options, all these choices, you still have to learn the mechanisms of how to activate it, how to know that, you know what I'm saying? And that's what you're talking about in terms of, we can help all we want, but how can we strap you with the tools?
Exactly.
And I think that's something that any one of us, that come from a sense of community that are in this position are constantly trying to figure out, like, how can I share this? How can I, what can I do?
Exactly. That's why you have a lot of entertainers, whether athletes, musicians, actors, whatever, they come across X amount of dollars and they end up broke because they don't have the tools. It's like, there is no way you should make X amount of millions and you end up broke. Like, you start building wealth.
Yeah.
But we don't know that. So we just get the money and we just buy a whole bunch of liabilities because we wasn't taught. So a lot of times people look at us like, oh my God, they're ignorant because they don't know. It's like, nah, if you was in our shoes, bro, you would have done the same thing. You just don't know better. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
That's why I feel obliged to educate us, man. Let people know that whatever you're doing at any given moment, you physically modifying your brain and become better at it. So just know, like, whether it's bad, whether it's good, your brain is like, yo, I'm gonna make you an expert at doing nonsense. I'm gonna make you an expert at doing this. So it just really behooves all of us to just keep a sound mental diet.
I want to get more into that and more into how you've found a sense of community that supports you in that. But before going there, I want to talk about the community that you're from, because I know you're also Haitian American. Your family's from Haiti, and you grew up in Brooklyn. Talk a little bit to me about like how you grew up.
Yeah, so I first generation Haitian. I was raised in the house with my grandma. She didn't speak lick of English. That's why.
Wow. So wait a minute. What all do you speak?
I speak French Creole.
You better go off. Wait. So real quick, tell me, hey girl, what's up? How you do that?
Hey, bonsoir, comment est ça qu'elle a?
You ate that.
Yeah. You funny as hell.
That is so dope.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people don't know that. So yeah, I grew up in that environment, and I grew up with straight monsters, man. I grew up with people that was just
not monsters and
trying to outdo each other in cruelty. From where we're from, that's just all we knew. You know what I'm saying? When gangsters is just like, I'm gonna show you how much balls I got, or like, yo, nah, I could you want to be down, you gotta do X, Y, Z. And I just think that was just a reality, I mean, that what the media was showing up, was portraying. We was just looking up to all the gangsters, and me being the youngest, it's just like I had to prove myself that I could hang. So I mean, and that led me to, a lot of things that I wasn't proud of. I got arrested when I was 13 years old. First time I got arrested, I did juvenile detention center, I did court and all this stuff. But again, it wasn't because I was trying to be cool. It's just that's all you know. And I think Napoleon Hill, one of my favorite authors, he was like, nature forces upon the minds of men the influences of their environment. So I was just being influenced by my environment. But after I started getting in a lot of trouble, my dad, he took me in with his second family, me and my other brother, and we were the two youngest. And that right there, that changed me completely. I moved to Florida. I was a predominantly white school, and I stopped getting in trouble. I stopped getting D's and F's. I ended up graduating high school with a bone 4.0 GPA. But
okay. Flex.
Yeah, it was literally because of my environment, and probably because I was scared to get my ass beat by my pops. But it was just like, but I just watched that change. But yeah, I grew around the wolves, man. And the people that all these rappers be talking about, like, they I really grew up around that. And that's why I'd never try to promote that. I never try to perpetuate that. A lot of times people look at me, they're like, yo, you seem like a good kid. You come from a 2-parent household. Da, 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 da. I don't come from none of that shit. But I just knew, I was like, yo, if God blessed me and be in this position, I'm not gonna perpetuate this stigma that I didn't create, that we didn't create. You know what I'm saying? We're perpetuating something that have nothing to do with us. That's not our culture.
What I'm hearing in your words is not only accountability in how your surroundings influence your actions, but also compassion in the ways in which you've addressed it. How did you kind of find the way to have that compassion for yourself? Because I think what happens a lot of time, especially what I see in our young black men, is people always talk about or zero in on they don't have no accountability, they don't have accountability. But it's hard to have accountability when there is no compassion that can then be accompanied with it. And everybody deserves to find self-compassion. So it becomes difficult to call yourself out if you don't know the tools to have compassion for your actions when you know you maybe just didn't know you could make a better choice or didn't figure out how to make a better choice or didn't know why that was a choice you made to begin with. How did you find your path to being able to be accountable, but then also say to yourself, look, I was doing my damn best, and I'm going to do better. But, how did you find that?
I think the reason why I developed a lot of compassion and I hold myself accountable is because when I see my brothers, when I see my brothers, cousins, and my friends that, they literally lost their lives, man. Some of them in jail until forever for the rest of their life. Some of them died, or some of them because of the streets and because of drugs and self-medicating. When you're dealing with our problems, niggas want to, be smoked out, or do whatever, and they, God forbid, they should get laced, and some traumatic effect happens, which affects them on a neurological level, and then they go on a trip and they never come back. So now they fiends. Now they enable to fiend. So
that's
I think
right.
when you just see the origin story of how it come out, it's like you're like, nah, I can't perpetuate this shit, bro. It's just like most likely your life expectancy is probably like 21, or if you hit the right lick, maybe let's say 25. But the amount of paranoia you got because it's ill-gotten gains, and you get hit, bro. You get hit with football numbers.
Baby, this is Keke Palmer, yeah.
Calling all lover girls, boys, and non-binary friends. Our time has come. The Bachelor is back, baby. And I couldn't be more excited to introduce y'all to Grant Ellis, season 29 certified heartthrob. Now, fans of the franchise may recognize him from Jen's season of The Bachelorette, but this time, Grant and his super charming smile are back for a second shot of love. And of course, I'm rooting for him for obvious reasons. But aside from the fact that Grant is an incredibly handsome 6'5" former basketball player who works in finance, the man is genuinely looking for the love of his life, okay? He's earnest and wholesome, just like I like him. Now, y'all know I live for this franchise, right? The drama, the romance, it's a roller coaster of emotions, and I am strapped in for the ride. There's nothing else like it on TV, honey, and it's a classic. So tune in to watch The Bachelor premiere this Monday, January 27th at 8/7 Central on ABC. Plus, you can stream the next day on Hulu. Don't miss out. There will be a quiz next week. All right, so you were talking about because I was asking you about how you found yourself having self-compassion. And what it sounds like to me is you was having compassion for how you seen some of your brothers in the community, have troubles, and it almost sounded like you started to have compassion for yourself out of necessity. You know what I mean? Almost like a coping mechanism. Like if I'm seeing my brothers in the community struggling like this and I'm seeing the pathways in which how that happened, how can I look at myself and how can I maybe even like love on myself and like reroute and find solutions so that I don't turn to the same things they did. I literally was having a conversation about that with a close friend of mine not too long ago, a guy friend. And, we were kind of going back and forth on that debate of like, guys need to be able to free to have more emotion and guys need to be, and he was like, I don't know if it's so much that guys need to have more emotion or they need to be telling everybody their feelings. I think it's like compassion. There needs to be more compassion in there. And I was like, damn, I never even really thought about it like that. But I think when we're talking about sometimes these romantic or platonic relationships back and forth with men and women, a lot of times what's missing is compassion because they're not necessarily able to know how to show compassion to themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
How can I show compassion to you, man, woman, or otherwise, if I don't have compassion for me?
Facts.
That's deep. When is the first time that you heard someone mention mental health and you actually felt like you could see yourself in the conversation? Like, were somebody you felt you related to?
This was probably like a couple years ago. I think this was probably like maybe like 3, 4 years ago. And I think it's because I was realizing what mental health actually is. Mental health is just making sure you're just balancing your emotional well-being in your head. You know what I'm saying? You're making sure there's a healthy balance, or you're relieving stress properly. You're not holding things in too much. And it's just like physical health. I love working out. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I agree with you so much on that. Working out will help your mind too.
For a fact, for a fact. And then if the more you work out, it just make life easier. If you gotta go up a flight of stairs, it's easy. If you gotta go walk your dog, it's easy. If you got a long day on set, you know what I'm saying? You gotta do X, Y, Z. You gotta walk to wherever it's, let's say your car break down. It's just easier to just move and you're not out of breath. And I just think when you start taking care of your mental health, it's the same way. But now mental illness is a different thing. It's that when your mental health isn't at a healthy state anymore. So now there's an actual illness there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true. I'm so excited at the way that we are finding new ways to destigmatize what that means, because we always talk about physical health and physical illnesses, but like really destigmatize and say, look, man, mental health is just keeping your mental in a good space. When your shit start going crazy, you start being hella negative, your vibrations is low, you ain't got nothing good to say about nobody.
Facts.
You may be sick, motherfucker.
There's
no silver lining. You need some help fast.
That's
Let me actually go deeper on that then. Like, what are some ways when you know your mental health may be struggling? Like, what's the dialogue in your head that lets you know, oh, I got to get myself back right real quick?
I think when I get into a negative space and I don't see the silver lining or nothing, you know what I'm saying? I think when you lose gratitude for a second, when you're not, when you're so present in your problem that you can't see the big picture. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes your problem is just a speck of dust. But if you don't have the ability to step outside and be like, you know what, bro, I'm healthy, I can walk, I got my bills paid, I'm doing this, or if you don't and you can't, there's always something you could be grateful for.
That's right.
It's always something. I don't care what level you're at in this world, there is always something you can be grateful for. And if when you're able to see that, that's when it's good. But then when you can't see that at all, I think you're really going through it. And usually when I'm going through that, I'm probably gonna go work out. I'm probably gonna call someone vent. If it's so bad, you know what I'm saying, I'll go back in therapy, just let things out. But usually that's when I realize it's like when I'm highly stressed and I'm just mad as hell every little day.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of like calling somebody to vent, I mean, you said something important earlier that, when you moved from your older neighborhood with your grandmother and started living with your dad, and that kind of impacted your life positively, you started kind of changing from the street influence to just like, where is my life going to go now? Like, how am I going to evolve from here? I think that's one of the most difficult things for people to do in terms of leaving the streets is there's a sense of community there, right? Like, you think about why people join gangs or get involved with anything. It's really a sense of like, I need to have some type of community around me because I feel alone. There's so much loneliness, and the way that we deal with that, it ranges, but it's not always necessarily positive. Even still, it's hard to leave that community behind because they did help you to some degree. So how was that for you, stepping away from maybe some of those people and those habits that was once your community to maybe a community that was more serving to where you're trying to go?
Wow, that is a beautiful question, Keke. That is a great question. To be honest, I struggle with that every day. I think that's one of the hardest things about success, and it's bittersweet, But I think, again, understanding psychology, right? It was just simply understanding how your brain works. You understand that the human mind do not like change, because back then, change could have resulted in you're probably going to die. If you leave your tribe, like we've been cavemen and like prehistoric dinosaur thinking human beings for way longer than we have been in this new society where we're exposed at a rate that no other human being has ever been exposed. Nowadays, you can go and just fly to China. You'll be in an entirely different culture. Back then, if you would have done that, you're going to die. You're in a different tribe. You don't have the same tattoos. You don't have the same skin color. It's a wrap. So naturally, we don't like change. So I had to learn that and go against the grain, because we are so evolved now that it's so different. So it's like I told my body, like, yo, bro, like if you don't make it out, this is your life. Like you see your life. You see the most successful hood nigga got a couple G's in his pocket, wilding, doing X, Y, Z, but he's probably gonna end up dead or in jail.
Ugh.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that is my reality, and I want kids. So do I want my kids to go? So I think what was my wants and my purpose and my goal overrided that feeling, that animal instinct of wanting to stay. Sometimes you got to override your animality through purpose, and once you have a purpose, it becomes analgesic. It's like it this adrenaline that rush in your body just it supersedes everything else. It's just like, yo, as much as I like cookies and cupcakes and da 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 da. And
it's self-preservation.
It's like
it's self-love is what you're describing.
It's
An
like,
immense
yo,
amount of self-love.
I love all my cousins and my brothers, but it's just like, nigga, I got to go. Because if we all, our lineage, our bloodline is done. And I looked at it like that. I'm like, yo, if I stay in this too, our bloodline is finito. So I'm just like, what I can do is get the fuck out of here. And in doing that, y'all might be mad for a little bit, but now all the mortgages are paid. All the bills are paid. You see what I'm saying? Amen. So if I would stay, it would have been a rat. And I think
you had to learn to see the forest from the trees, see the bigger picture. But to that point, to anybody that's listening, like you don't have to list every step, but what does some of those steps look like? Stepping away from habits and people that maybe aren't currently serving you in the best way. Like, is that just not picking up the phone this week? Is that being communicative and saying, hey, look, man, I can't do this?
I would say first off, you gotta have a good relationship with God. And what I've learned. What I've learned, what I've learned in my struggle, not trying to preach, but it's just like, you gotta hit rock bottom. Because when you hit rock bottom, you know who's the rock at the bottom, which is God. And then the minute you get to that point, when you at that level, none of your friends matter no more. None of your friends or family don't matter. Like,
family either.
Your friends' family don't even matter anymore. And I think, and that's the, when I'm ignoring all the calls, someone called, hang up. Someone called, don't pick up, change my number, blocked it. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it's just like I got my relationship with God. So it's like no matter what happens, I'm straight.
We have to pull this out because what you're speaking to is so important in, I believe, helping us resist external confirmations and validations, which are sometimes so necessary. We're human beings, right? We want to see things that we want to have things we can touch, see, and feel that let us know we're on the right track or that we're not alone or we feel comfort, etc. But in the words of Lacan, I mean, he maybe never said these words, but obviously his teachings are about language. And I know language can be difficult for people. So I'm not saying you got to be this kind of religion, that kind of religion. But when we talk about God, we're talking about that thing that lives in each and every one of us. That's deep, deep inside. That is always there for you, whether you want to lean into it or not. And when you absolutely go through rock bottom and the external validations are no longer confirming you to be who you think you are or who you want to be, there's no other way or other place you can go than inside. And then you realize, damn, it was always there all along. And I wish that I could articulate it further than that, but that's why we say God. We say God because that's what it is. That's that feeling, that's that thing. And 100%, I couldn't agree with you more, man. When I've gone through the most horrible times in my life, I remember as a kid, when me and my family, they didn't understand what I was going through. I remember when I got a call from Will Smith saying, look, I've been through the same thing. You're going to get there. You're going to be, when you're the first person in your family, when you're stepping out, you're breaking generational curses, when you're doing something different, it feels lonely, but you're not alone. And all I had was me, my journal, and that inner voice, that inner thing that I can never be disconnected from. And that's God for me. And so I agree so much, man. It's so true. And it really, it's hard. It's unfortunate that sometimes, you have to be stripped to some degree to get to that point. Yep. But everybody has a version of it.
Yeah, discipline is the key. I think without discipline, a man and a woman don't stand a chance against life. You gotta be disciplined. You gotta be disciplined. And sometimes the same way you say no to other people, they don't realize that you're saying no to yourself. You know what I'm saying? But they don't even have the level of consciousness to understand that type of thinking. So to them, it's just like you just like the coolest thing about being humans is a cool thing, but it's also a scary thing. It's like, if you have 10 giraffes, you have 10 giraffes. You have 10 zebras, you have 10 zebras. 10 dogs, you have 10 dogs. If you have 10 humans, it's not 10 humans. Some human beings are just built different, bro. You can't talk to them like the way you can talk to this human being or the way you can talk to yourself. I had to come to terms with that in peace. Like I'm like, oh, my nigga.
That's tough, though.
And even though we both speak in English, we speak a different level of English to where it's just like your wants and needs and my wants and needs is completely different, bro.
Yes. Yes, it's so true. That's the like whole coexisting gag. It's so, I don't know if you saw Deadpool recently, but I love this little moment. Did you see Deadpool?
No,
if you didn't, I'm not
I
gonna say.
didn't watch it. I want to watch it. I heard it's good.
It was really good. I've seen it like twice now. But anyway, another conversation for another day. Somebody we have in common that we both love who taught me a lot just about like self-awareness, self-power, manifesting your dreams, like not always being a product of where you're from is Tupac Shakur.
Oh my God.
I know he's somebody that you really love, that you speak about as well. If you could pick one thing or a couple of things like that, his story or his music or who he was as an artist, how it impacted you, like what would it be?
So, okay. Oh, wow. You asking questions. You asking some good ass questions. I think I got to start this out. I think if I was born in a different family, I probably would have been a scientist because my ability to observe and draw conclusions and come up with different type of hypotheses and theories and X, Y, Z, it's my greatest asset. And I studied Tupac closely and I watched how he was when he was in high school. That drama kid, innocent kid.
Yeah.
And how he was just talking and he was just talking about his arts. He was so flamboyant and just like different.
Yeah.
Then
Theater kid.
Then him turned into the hit him up. You know what I'm saying? Pac was just completely different Pac. And it was just his environment. It was a matter of his environment that completely changed. This guy had a really good heart, but he went out into the world. He was around certain gangsters. He started seeing a certain side of life that kind of turned his heart. So I looked at that and I was like, I got to make sure no matter what I do in this world, no matter where God take me, I keep my heart the same way it's been in the beginning, right? I can't change that. Also, when Pac was arrested and when he was locked up, he was reading a lot. Like Pac is the reason why I started reading books because he made it look cool to read. And the thing is, it's just like, you know, when you come from a certain environment and nobody's reading, bro, you're not going to do that. But if you see a gangster reading, you're like, oh, like they read too? Like, and then you start realizing, you know, when people say certain things like, you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. So I started reading a lot because of Pac. I started learning about our history, where we come from, and why, like, you know what I'm saying, that the system was set up the way it is. Why Pac was saying certain things like, oh, we all run around suicide strapped. And how when him saying certain things like stuck, niggas is lucky if we bust out this.
What's that mean? What's that mean?
He said we're all running around suicidal strapped. You know what I'm saying? And then
yes.
And then he was also saying like he was stuck. Niggas is lucky if we bust out this. He was just saying like, bro, there's an entire system put in play for you to be stuck. Like you really have to understand this. And like a lot of times people are listening to music and we're really not getting it, but we're just like, yo, like it's there was an entire nation. Mm-hmm. This is so deep. The ones who founded this country said we have to keep this group in bondage no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And he talks about that all through music, which that made me be like, yo, let me start doing research. Like, what is he talking about? We stuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how are black people done that? You go and go, you're like, oh shit. Yo.
Well, I mean, that's the foundation of how James Baldwin speaks to that a lot, but he also speaks to the reality that if I treat one people this way, then you also won't realize how badly I'm treating you. And I think that's what a lot of people are waking up to. It's because it's easy to be like, oof, who are they treating black folks crazy?
Right.
Glad I'm not black.
Right.
Until you realize that they're treating black people crazy, but they're also treating me poorly. But they wanted me to focus on just this so that I wouldn't actually start focusing on this. And that's why it's so important that we come together, which, you know, I think we're in interesting times where that could be a possibility, where I have people that are like, I remember as a kid, like, you know, going to school and the conversations around blackness and what I was up against was just not even a conversation. And then we have movies like Dear White People. And now we have conversations like the one we're having right now. And so, you know, it's like, I didn't even know words like microaggression existed until like 6-7 years ago. So it's like, people are waking up to the realities that I think a lot of people like Tupac Shakur, in his way, in his fashion, just like James Baldwin, just like Toni Morrison, you know what I'm saying? With racism being meant to be a distraction, you know what I mean? Like the country is built on something rudimentary, which is ultimately slavery of all, and only a few
That's
having
true, yeah.
success.
Because of capitalism, man. I be telling my friends,
Yeah.
I be telling some of my white friends this. I'm like, bro, you a nigga too now. Like,
Right. like we all
I'm like, we're in this together, so
struggling.
we should really team up. Like,
No, for
it
real.
ain't
Like
about
we really
color no
need to
more.
power range this.
It's not about color no more, but we was just the first, like we was just the start of this. It's really capitalism. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it is.
Last question. What is something that you would say to someone that's having trouble figuring out, and I'll say specifically Black men, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, everybody's struggling with mental health for a million, every little different group, many marginal, we all have something.
Fact.
But as a Black man, I think it's important to hear from other Black men. How would you assist in words or tangible practices that can help a Black man that ain't never ever, partook in nothing like this before, figure out how to approach his mental health?
I would say, first off, I think you need to find somebody to talk to. And it could be a good friend. You don't even got to pay for therapy. It could be a good friend that you guys hold each other accountable. And if you don't have a good friend around, then definitely look for a therapist. And if you cannot afford that, go on YouTube. Type in your favorite celebrities or authors, or just type in motivational videos. Start listening to some human beings speak on positivity. Start doing that. That is very important. And if church don't resonate with you, if pastors don't resonate with you, look for a motivational speaker. Look for something that you like, and then just start diving into that world. I think we have a lot of access to information in this day and age to where it's like, if you can't have someone to talk to, if you can't go to therapy, you can't do it for whatever reason, try to go on YouTube. And I'm sure one of those options are probably going to work. And in doing that, then just start being honest with yourself. I would write down what's making you mad and why. And then just write it down. Because a lot of times writing it down is the first way you could actually see the problem. You can see the problem and just try to find solutions to it. Then start meditating. Start, just taking in a lot of positive things. Start cutting negative things out of your circle. Whatever's bringing you sadness and making you mad as hell, start removing that out of your circle. And I think you got to switch your mental diet up for like 30 days, and I swear you're going to start seeing results. And that's from me. What I do, I meditate a lot. That's guided meditations on YouTube. You can literally type in 10-minute meditation for anxiety, 10-minute meditation for depression, 10-minute meditation for whatever. And then boom, and it's a guided meditation. And then I start reading certain books, certain movies, certain songs, certain things I don't even watch no more. And honestly,
so I'm hearing self-reflective journaling, inundating yourself with positive things, whether it be books, specials, YouTube documentaries. I'm hearing using the internet as a source of self-discovery, which is like something very personal to me. I remember when I was 17, I started going to this website called thinkexist.com, and you just click a word. Like for me, I would put in like stress or anger or sadness, and then all these amazing quotes from amazing philosophers would come up. And that's how I discovered Aristotle and really the teachings of Buddhism, like all of that. So I really relate to that. And I'm also hearing, find somebody that you feel safe with. Like when you said you don't have a friend or somebody to talk to.
Right. And then, and most importantly, just limit your distractions. I think social media, it's a big tool to be stressed, have a lot of anxiety, and then just suffer a lot mentally. So I personally, if I'm not posting for like fan engagements or whatever, I'm not on social media. I delete it all the time. It's just not good to keep looking at different images that have nothing to do with the next and comparing yourself to people and then just all that stuff. It's just like, that's not where you should spend most of your time, because that right there is there's too much information out there that's leading to that, making a lot of human beings depressed and sad. So I'll just limit that out. You cut the distractions out, and then you start focusing on what really matters.
Davinchi, I could talk to you for hours. I actually feel like we did talk for hours the first time that we had met.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember us going off on some deep ass discussions.
Right, that's a fact.
This brought back memories. So we're gonna have to really do this again. I don't want to keep you too long, but I'd love to finish our conversation with a little quick game. Is that okay with you?
Let's do it.
Okay, the game is called Here For It or Not, and it's pretty simple. I'll name something, and you just have to tell me if you here for it or if you're not. Ready?
Okay.
Okay, astrology. Here for it or not?
Nah.
So you don't know your rising or your moon?
Nah, I think it's cap. I think it's
Oh my
think-
gosh,
think-
you're
I think-
so hilarious.
no, I think there's truth in it, but I don't think we have the accurate truth. There's something that powerful that you can predict XYZ. The way they make buying a fucking house so goddamn hard in this country, ain't no fucking way that information is just so damn accessible that it could really help you. Ain't no way.
You literally sound like an air sign saying that. Okay, ghosting, as in you ghosting someone else. Here for it or not?
Sound like an air sign saying that. I'm a Libra.
You do. Air signs say shit like that. Are you an air sign?
I'm a Libra. I don't know what. Yeah.
Yes, you're an air sign. Yes, you are. That's like the air sign. Y'all are always so in the wind and so above it all.
What was the second question?
It was ghosting, as in you ghosting someone else. Are you here for it or not?
I'm here for it. For my mental health, absolutely.
I already know. Come on, mental health. I had to ghost you. Now that's good. Now that's T-Boo. I love that one. I'm gonna have to steal that. Look, honestly, for my mental health, I just had to, That's why you ain't talked to me in 10 years.
Right. You ghost me in mental health. I ain't mad at that.
Okay. Daily journaling. Here for it or not?
I'm here for it.
Period. I know you said. I figured you were going to be here for that because you give that, and you said that that's what you do. So amazing. Same here. Dating other famous people. Here for it or not?
Nah.
Literally.
Nah. What? That is like two crazy lies. It's like somebody has to be stable.
Bingo. I was like, I feel like we both have that same vibe where it's like we're trying so hard to straddle what we do for our jobs and just having that grounded, simple simplicity, like just being able to feel real and not everything being so heightened.
Like I don't think, and this is very unpopular, and I might get shit for that, but I just don't think it's conducive to a healthy life. Like human beings, we're creatures of habits, right? Whenever you're not in a state that there's a habit, there's a system, already you're not going to be happy. There's going to be depression, there's going to be anxiety. So we fly all that, like that's already playing with our brains. Like that's not healthy, one, right? We're supposed to be still somewhere else. We know what's happening on Monday, Friday, Tuesday, next week, da-da-da. Tomorrow you could be in Australia filming a damn event. You know what I'm saying? So one person in this situation gotta be safe. Whether it's the man or the woman, whatever.
I never...
The kid is done. The kid is done.
I don't think I was really able to articulate what you said right then. But that's exactly what it is.
It ain't working.
It's the stability factor. We don't have any stability. We gotta be just do. And in my family, for me, like that is what I always look for too in a romantic partner is what I had in my family. They was my stability. I knew I could count on them. I knew this and that. I knew, you know what I mean? As opposed to just how we both on two different sides of the world. That's just too much.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. Y'all like two kids. Like one person got you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, there is nothing wrong with that job either. And I will say this. I hate when men be like, oh my God, my wife, we divorced and she trying to take half. Yeah, nigga, she deserved it. She deserved it. If she was handling what she was handling, she's the reason why you got that mental peace to do X, Y, Z. But they're just so dumb and they're not aware that they can't even think about it for real. But yeah, she deserved it because that job is just as important as flying and filming whatever fucking Marvel movie you're filming. So I will say that.
They are literally going to be starving the way you ate up this podcast. Okay? They are going to be starving because you're eating down. Okay? All right, last one. I know you haven't really done this yet, but I'm just curious. Directing and producing, here for it or not?
I'm here for it. I'm here for it, for sure.
Period. I would totally be in your movie because I can already tell you would be able to really give some good direction and some insight to the character. I can already see you directing. It's coming from you naturally. But I feel like I've got to ask this for the girls. This is the one question that I knew I had forgotten. I'm glad I remembered it before I let you go, which is, you said, and you say often, that you really want kids. I'm curious, and this is for the ladies listening, is your interest for kids just as strong as your interest in being married?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why so? This is not a trick question. I'm just curious.
No, I just believe in a family nucleus, and I think having a mother and father in the household just increases the success chance of the child. And another reason why that for a long time they was destroying the family nucleus in a black household, because they understood that there's a mother and father in the house that increases the chance of that slave kid, the Negro, to become successful. So you gotta destroy that. You gotta make the woman the head of the household and emasculate the male. Like this was a science that you can look this up. Like this is what they realized. You know what I'm saying? And that's why for a while in America, even with the welfare system, that if you had a man in the house, you can't qualify. A man has to be out the house. You know,
Yeah.
there's different games, certain things
We
that
did
play.
Section 8.
Yeah, to destroy the family nucleus, but that's the most important thing in this world. That's why a lot of other countries that when we're looked at as a laughingstock in the world, they value that. A lot of other countries value family. I think without a family nucleus, there's nothing you do. Like you need a team in this world. You need a team. You need just like an entertainer. You got the manager, agent, lawyer. That's what mother and father, and that's what that is. You need a village. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely understand the importance of that, and I watched what that did to my family. Not having both of that in my house. You know, a lot of my brothers, a lot of stuff would have been avoided if it was both things in the house, you know, both parents in the house. So I definitely value that, and I respect that a lot. I think that right there could single-handedly help the Black community tremendously if we stop promoting promiscuity and nigga mother and father in the house and you twerk on your damn husband. Do that. I think right there.
No more pussy popping on a handstand?
You said yeah. I think if we promoted that, like to say equal with the promiscuity that we promote, man, I think we'll see a huge change in the Black community.
I'm here for the equalness. We can have some pussy popping.
Yeah.
We can have some
pussy popping.
We can have some, you know,
I just think it needs to be right now. It's here. This is pussy popping, and this is the other stuff. I think it just needs to be like here at least. You know what I'm saying? Pussy popping is fun. You need a little bit.
I love how the pussy popping is still slightly above, but they're like closer.
You can have that. Like it's good to have Doritos and cakes and cookies and shit like that. But you need the greens. You need your water. You need you know what I'm saying? You need both to have a good world. That's a garden right there, you know? And only have one.
I am beyond here for you, okay, Da'Vinchi? And I'm just so glad that you've never changed. You're still that same person that I met those 6 years ago, even with all your success. And I know it's going to continue. I can't wait for us to both keep riding this wave together and see where else we meet again.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate all that. And by the way, I got to give you your flowers. You are a legend. Like I grew up watching. To be here right now, just having this conversation with you. I mean, we talk outside of this, but this is kind of crazy. Like I managed to bust my ass so hard in life that I'm sitting at the table right now talking to you. You know what I'm saying? You are a GOAT. You're not even.
Oh my
you're
God.
a GOAT. Like you're a legend. So honestly, kudos to you and your family and everyone that contributed to your success, because you're a legend, bro. For real, for real. So thank you.
That means the world. Thank you. Thank you. I feel like Da'Vinchi is such an old soul, and I really respect him for speaking about the causes that are important to him and sharing his views. I'm always going to be cheering him on, and I hope you will too. Well, that's a wrap for this one, but don't worry, don't stress. I'll be back next time because you know it's your girl.
Baby, this is Keke